How's it going, y'all? Welcome to the Twin Cities. This is a podcast where we interview previous clients who we've helped relocate to the Twin Cities to help make the Twin Cities their home. Thanks for watching very much. This episode, we're interviewing folks who I helped personally before we had a team in 2021, and their names are Lauren and Christy. They're coming to Minnesota, specifically to a neighborhood called Morningside, Edina, which we have a virtual tour on the main channel if you're interested in. And they're moving to Morningside, Edina from Austin, Texas. Thanks for watching. Thank you for being here. Yeah, very nice to have you all. And you are, we talked about this already, but you are the folks of anybody we've had on this podcast, you've been in Minnesota the longest, right, not counting the first time you were here.
True. Mm-hmm. So third stint living here, or my third stint living here.
And we try to get people who have spent what most of the people that we're having on, it's like people are maybe like anxious to like come on like right away. And now that we're like helping people and we've had the podcast for a while, they're like, oh, I'd love to come on the podcast. It's like live here for a little while. Yeah. So that you have like reference points and,
have a winter.
Your point of view will be a little more helpful to the people who will be listening to this.
Yeah. Other than just like the process of getting here, but it's trying to be about a lot more than just that.
Good.
So so
thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Privileged to be here.
Very nice to have that, and you a slightly different perspective, and you're also natives. Yeah, you're original to Minnesota, so that's cool. But I guess as well as you can remember, given that actually, how long ago did you move here officially?
Almost 4 years ago.
Oh, that's so crazy. Yeah. Because I've only done, that means, you were in my first year of doing real estate.
Yeah. We were a early pandemic move.
Yeah.
And did the entire process online.
Yep.
So tonight's our first night meeting in person.
Yeah.
Wait. And did the whole thing back when you had to do it all by Zoom meetings.
Yeah, that's true. It was very, very at arm's length.
Yeah.
Crazy. So I think the team didn't even really exist quite yet. And Steve definitely wasn't on the team. He was at my brokerage. Mm-hmm. So
we had never seen our house until we moved here.
Just remotely. Mm-hmm. And it had that Faraday cage or whatever, right?
Yeah, we were trying to do a cell phone call. That's still true today. We can't get a cell signal inside our house. So
it's
Wi-Fi
so well insulated and
interesting. Yeah. So we were doing like Zoom. Imagine Zoom call with like a Faraday cage where like data doesn't transmit out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were trying to like show us the house.
Yeah.
And you're like trying to like stick near windows and like
crazy. So you've been here 4 years, but let's go back to before you moved here. I guess the last time before you moved back, the last time, where were you living? Tell us a little bit about like what life looked like then.
We are returning for what for me is my third time. I lived here during high school, then went away for college, my first job. Returned, we started a family here, took a job away from Minnesota in Austin, Texas, and we lived there almost a decade from 2012 until early COVID 2021, and returned because our families remain here. So it's been great to return, but we've had both work and then some personal changes take us away, and nice to be back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that period of time, you must have seen Austin really blow up.
Oh my God.
Was that like the boom time?
Yeah, the whole city's seen boom and bust cycles, but it was a really good time.
Yeah, we were in kind of the Austin sprawls. So we actually had to go through another city to get to our like subdivision, which was still considered Austin. But we were like in the Maple Grove of Austin.
Okay.
If you think of where that is.
In relation to the Twin Cities.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so like, to think of how much it grew, when we first moved there, it took me 6 minutes to get to Target. And when we left, it took me like 20 minutes to get to the same Target.
My job had the same. I commuted to the same building for almost 10 years. At the beginning, it was a 25-minute drive reliably. By the end, it was 45 minutes on the best day and an hour on the worst day.
God.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
House didn't move. Austin moved.
Yeah.
Right.
Traffic built up.
Man.
So.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like we've been helping a lot of people from Austin lately. Probably, and Texas in general.
Texas in general.
Is probably the number one.
Feels like it just recently, within the last year, at least from my perspective.
At least the last 2 years. But yeah, during 2020, 2021, it was a lot of West Coast and y'all. And then, and a lot of them were moving to Austin as well.
Yeah.
Right. And so there was that was a really common migratory pattern. And then, but yeah, now I think by a pretty good percentage, Texas is the most that we're helping coming up here. There could be something to, about like some of the podcasts that we've done have been from people from Texas, so they might be searching those things. So I always used to say that like just because we help West Coast people doesn't mean that means more people from the West Coast. That just means more of them want to work with me.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I don't really know what those numbers are, but we've been helping a lot of people from Texas.
Awesome.
But yeah, and so what was getting out of Texas at all part of the arithmetic that y'all were thinking to get here? Or was it more a pull? Like were you pushed? Did you feel it all pushed out, or did you feel more pulled here?
I think it was more of a pull. When we had first moved away, then kind of it almost gave our families permission to also leave. Like our parents, both sets of parents left the state and went and did fun things. Yeah. And like our siblings weren't living here. And then slowly everyone came back again.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, oh, like they're doing fun things. Like they're having holidays together and like they get to go sleep in their beds, like at the end of like a Christmas celebration. We have to sleep in their guest rooms. Like, and it was kind of like, we felt like we were missing out and our girls weren't getting that experience of being with their families. Yeah. And then COVID just kind of shook everything up. Yeah. So
sure. I suppose, it's one thing if everybody's out, then once there's kind of like a hub, then you're like, shoot, we're not in the hub. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Sure.
So yeah, there was no
other city. Like if it was family, right? It sounds like family was kind of like the main pullback, right? Were there any other impetus to move? You mentioned work. Did that factor in?
I do. I work in software, so I can do my job from anywhere. And we made this particular relocation in the period when it's like, oh, I'm going to just be on Zoom meetings for the rest of my natural life, and I'm never going to go to an office ever again. Made the choice pretty easy. Austin also was going through a real boom of market, so we sold our home to some nice inbound Californians who paid us way too much money for it. Yeah.
Good for you.
Plowed that back into our real estate here, and turned out to be both good timing and I think, but the pull was more for family rather than anything.
That's
anti.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Was your just this is a curiosity? Was the offer on your house unsolicited?
No, we had put it on the market.
Okay.
We
I heard there was a lot of that.
To NASA in Houston for one day, and we came back to like 9 offers. It was that crazy time.
Yeah. Our realtor was just like, go away for a weekend. Like we'll have an open house, and then you'll come home and sort through your offers. Yeah. And we did. And
that really was.
I mean, that was like that here, but the median sale price was probably much lower than in Austin at that time, just in general in the Twin Cities. But it was. I remember it was springtime in 2020 through 2022. Really,
you were so
pretty wild
for every house to be just a battle. You know, crazy. Was the actually? I'm going to ask that a little bit later. So. I think we can move to kind of like during the process once, which we're kind of in already, but like once you decided to move here, how did you start the process other than like reaching out to me was that maybe, I don't know. Yeah. What was the start of that? What did that look like for y'all?
I had a strategic goal in the move. When we lived in Austin, we were on the very periphery of town, maybe to keep up the Maple Grove or the Woodbury style. You would always turn one way because you'd always turn toward the city and everything was into the city. Sure. And I had the strategic intent that we'd choose a neighborhood where I'd turn left or right out of my driveway with equal frequency. So we picked some neighborhoods that we thought would be central and have some of the walkability and some of the urban grid, if you will, which just was not part of the storyline that we had the prior decade, and had picked out a handful of areas that we knew very little about, and landed on a handful that we were most interested in, did a lot of online research, and eventually reached out to sort down a couple choices.
Yeah, so were there any... let's say aside from from the YouTube channel, which was just my YouTube channel at the time, were there any like tools that you found useful in narrowing stuff down, like niche.com or Google Street View?
Did you use Reddit? I feel like a lot of people that we talk to now, because I'll ask like, did you find us through the YouTube channel? And most often they'll say yes, but Reddit seems like it comes up pretty frequently now. Is that something that you utilize?
I would say definitely YouTube as the first intro. So congratulations on all the growth there.
Yeah.
I think we also got some value out of Minnesota Monthly, and they have little neighborhood profiles, or Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine will run little storylines about why a particular part of town was a nice part to go check out, even for a weekend trip, not necessarily even as a place to live, but give us some familiarity.
I mean, I think Reddit is good, but not great. You have to always look at like the timestamp. Like, when did this person write the review? Yeah, and then is it a single person in their early 20s? Because I don't relate to that. Versus and are they complaining that, well, I don't like living in Minneapolis because X, Y, and Z, or I love this place because,
if there's not enough
overlap.
Enough context sometimes too, you're like, well, I can't really, that's kind of useless to me because I don't know who they are.
And this was written 7 years ago, and a lot can change.
There's a few areas, well, quite a few around the cities where it's just 7 years ago. It's like, oh, well, that would be a different conversation. You know? Both good and bad. Okay, and was I have a very specific memory. Sometimes I wonder if it's not accurate, but that you were settled completely on Morningside Edina.
I think by the time we reached out to you, that was true. We had done some of the mapping through and some of the research, and I valued it for a handful of reasons. The turn left, turn right.
That's a good one.
So just so I'm clear on what that means, you have stuff in every direction, literally, like that. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, maybe out of our driveway, you go left to go to Target. You go right to go to the original Caribou, which sadly just sold.
Rest in peace,
you go right to go to a great, wine liquor store. You go left to go to the freeway. You go right to go to the airport. So it's equidistant from a lot of these different places, as opposed to you're always getting on this one road to head into the city.
Sure. Especially with your commute. I bet you did that a lot in Austin.
Yeah.
Same turn again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Was I guess we'll get into maybe why that, in a bit, but I'm curious because I think you're measured, right? Is maybe, in obviously you made decisions very deliberately. Can you remember, again, this is a while ago now, what were some of the biggest sort of factors, or, if it was a spreadsheet, what were the things that were sort of the boxes that had to be ticked?
I think we wanted to be closer into Minneapolis.
Okay.
We had lived in White Bear Lake before, close to the downtown.
Yeah. Sure.
And we loved the walkability of that.
Super cute.
But didn't love that you're still kind of far away from St. Paul in Minneapolis. So when you were home, it was great because you could walk to everything. But then, if you wanted to get downtown, it was still a haul. So we knew we wanted that walkability and
reasonable drive time to the city.
We also kind of like that first tier suburb because we had experienced it because my sister and her husband had moved to a first tier suburb. And when we would stay with them when we were in town, it was kind of like, oh man, you can get everywhere so fast.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah.
And the fact that like everything is already built out.
Yeah.
Like traffic's not going to get worse.
No.
It's going to get worse like the further out you go.
Yeah.
But it's already as bad as it's going to get.
Yeah. It would take pretty intense development, upward.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
I don't see it happening anytime particularly soon in the city, other than downtown. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question about, like, what was your perception of where you ended up when you lived here before? Like, had you ever heard of Morningside or Edina in general?
Well,
Edina, I'm sure you had heard of, yeah.
Because we went to Blaine High School.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, hockey,
Sure.
Edina has its own reputation.
In the hockey world too, yeah.
Yeah. In many ways.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know.
I do want to come back to that, but
Yeah.
Did I jump the gun?
No. That's it. Just sprung something loose.
Okay.
So we knew of it.
On a prior attempt, we had made a handful of attempts to relocate that really only COVID and Zoom meetings unlocked for me and my career.
Okay.
So we had this pull to come back and be with family. And I'd occasionally apply for other jobs here, but they were either of a different tier. It wasn't a great fit.
Yeah.
But occasionally we get close enough that I would return on a bit of a neighborhood scouring or house hunting trip. And we looked a little bit in the Linden Hills neighborhood in Minneapolis, which has a little downtown core and some good walkability. And our children at the time were much younger. So at this point, we knew we'd be dropping them into a high school and high school system, and wanted to pick a neighborhood where we thought they could be pretty stable through the remainder of their schooling and get the advantage of both a good neighborhood and some good schools.
Yeah. Do you remember the neighborhoods that were on the short list before completely narrowed down to Morningside? Maybe Linden Hills?
Matt Groveland.
We looked at Matt Groveland
and
St. Paul.
Highlands in St. Paul.
We love both those neighborhoods.
And we would always stay there. When we came back, we'd get Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Just because we would try out neighborhoods.
That's what we always say. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Don't go stay downtown. What are you doing? You're trying to move here. Yeah. Yeah.
We looked a little at St. Anthony Park on the north side of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Also
Another one of our favorite. Another very small area, though.
Yeah.
The villagey feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a couple of the small towns that ringed, like Minnetonka, Wayzata, and some of the others.
Excelsior, maybe.
Yeah, Excelsior. But for me, especially in my role, I'm a heavy airport user, and my driveway to the front door at the airport is 18 minutes. It's never 20. It's very reliable and lets me cut it uncomfortably close for my family whenever we go here.
I do that so bad. Yeah.
And there's always an Uber available too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is something I've taken for granted. It's taken doing a podcast with people that even like DoorDash, those things where people were like, oh my God, we looked at DoorDash at 10 p.m. and we're like, look at all these options. Like, oh man, I never thought about that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the proximity to the airport thing is something that I learned from doing the podcast too, that like that, and it makes sense. People who are relocating that probably still have, obligations where they came from or somewhere else, outside of the country. So that is, I think that makes a lot of sense too. If that is the case for anybody who's relocating to prioritize, like, it's not, traffic in the Twin Cities is relatively not that bad no matter where you are, but that 18-minute drive versus the 28 or 38-minute drive, it's a big difference if you're using it a lot.
And in Uber too, the price doubles, right? So,
right. The further out you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to speak to the future airport user, Minneapolis has a really well-regarded airport with great service to lots of cities. I still travel down to Austin for my work. Maybe 4 weeks in 5, I'll go down for 2 or 3 days at a time. Okay. And there's 5 nonstops a day to Austin.
Yeah.
There's like 12 nonstops a day to New York and the various airports out there.
Sure.
I have a shorter commute than the admin who runs our team. She commutes from West Texas, and her trip when she comes in 5 hours.
Wow.
My trip, 4.5 hours.
Like a car? She
drives from like a small town in West Texas, comes in for a couple days.
Wow.
And I have a shorter commute from Minneapolis than she does from a different point in Texas.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Texas is...
It is pretty big.
It is pretty big, yeah.
It also goes to the efficiency, though. You can run through the airport super fast and tons of connections to anywhere in the world. And that's a big draw for me in the business world.
Yeah, Paul and I travel quite a bit, and we call it pretty close on the arrival times. But it's crazy how few times, if any, that we've been burnt by calling it pretty close. I don't know, other airports I wouldn't be quite as risky. Because you're like, I have no idea. I don't know what this is going to be like, but. Yeah, it's Terminal 2. Do you ever get to take Terminal 2?
Every once in a while, there's a Southwest flight.
God, it's just a breeze.
Yeah,
it's like walking into a library. You're
right.
Like, hey guys, it's crazy.
It's your own personal security check. There's like one person ahead of you.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But I might say too, they're reliable all winter. I was nervous at first, like, there's going to be all these delays with ice and snow, but. And the on-time stats out of Minneapolis are stronger than most every other airport. They know how to do it in the winter.
Yeah.
We got de-iced one time in Austin.
Oh.
And it's like a dude in the back of a Ford F-250 with a super soaker, and he's just like spraying you with de-icing fluid.
It's like the happiest day of his life. He's like, I get to use this thing.
You had to go dig it out. He's like, where is that thing?
Yeah. But here, like, you drive up and there's a pad and there's like a crane. And, like, they get you in and out super fast, even in bad weather.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of people wonder about, how do like the road crews do for snow? And it's like, I mean, if you haven't seen it, you kind of wouldn't believe it, how efficient they can be, especially on the highway. The 4 trucks next to each other or whatever, like staggered.
It's the coolest thing to see.
It's pretty wild. Yeah.
Well, we were in Texas when we were in Austin when they had the 7 inches of snow and it shut down the city for a week.
And froze pipes and stuff like that.
And so we were on our next door page, like teaching our neighborhood how to like prevent ice dams and do all these things that they had no clue. I mean, ours was the only driveway that didn't have snow on it because we shoveled it because we had moved one shovel because it just felt weird to get rid of all of them. And funny. It came in handy.
Yeah, we had tips from your neighborhood Minnesotans. And like some of you have swimming pools, so you have pool salt. Like chuck it up on your roof and it'll melt all the ice dams. And
that's a good idea.
Your water softener salts.
Run an incandescent light bulb in your attic.
Because all of the water heaters are up there.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Nightmare to be the guy who installs a water heater in an attic in Texas. My God, or like an AC unit inside the attic.
Oh, and they'll tell you on the news like how many hours it will be below freezing. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Hours?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
That's crazy. Okay. Is the I guess during the search, we'll kind of go back to that. Is the I don't think there was. Again, my memory fails me at times. But was there any kind of like deadline or timeline, maybe a school year or anything like that you were kind of operating against?
I guess vaguely this school year.
Trying to time
but
it.
I guess our children were remote schooling at the time. So ideally kind of a school break, but not hard set.
Yeah. Okay.
We have people that do a mix of like virtual showings and in person. Sometimes it's just one or the other. What did you guys do when you were...
I remember this very well.
Yeah, I'm asking because Jesse was the one who helped them. But yeah, for the listeners, could you describe the process?
In this neighborhood of Morningside, and to describe it, it was part of Edina. And then as Texans, I'm proud to say, it declared independence from Edina in like 1922 because it was a bit of a streetcar suburb and a more urban core. And they're like, these like poor farmers over in Edina, we're going to leave and become our own thing, which they were until 1966.
Crazy.
And then they ran out of money because they were like,
we're running
people
this
running their own school district,
1 mile
and their
by
own
1 mile
police department and whatever
village.
I think that's helpful. Yeah, for anyone who's listening to this and doesn't know, Morningside is a very small neighborhood in Edina. It's in the northeastern corner of Edina. You said it's 1 mile by 1 mile, roughly. Okay, so it's a small area, and if to localize your search to this very small area, I'll let you
among the smallest of anybody we've found.
I think in the 4 years we've lived there have been 12 houses have come up for sale.
Okay.
In sum total. And
That
the one
weren't
we
new
bought
builds.
is the only one that we could have possibly, landed in.
Sure.
That's crazy.
And has been, very low turnover, pretty stable neighborhood. But that also brought with it challenges, because once we had identified that was a pretty interesting place to go, popped up on one of my web searches that I had stored. And I remember I emailed it to Christy, and she had emailed it to me at the same time. It was that narrow of a set of inventory that we moved on it right away.
Yeah.
And I think we had only recently established even an email relationship, and then we sent you out, can you go look at this one, and can you do it right away? And you jumped right on it.
Yeah, I seem to recall we Zoomed, because you're why I use Calendly.
Nice. Good.
Because you were the first person to ever
thank you.
introduce
What a wonderful, honestly,
if anybody's watching this.
For you, it's got to be 10 times better. But even I'm
it's
like,
unbelievable.
This is so great.
Yeah. And I remember doing that and being like, oh, this is slick, but I think it was a pretty short call that we had. And then I think I maybe set up the search or something like that. And yeah, it was just kind of like there won't be a ton of houses, so just when it happens, just let me know and we'll make it happen. We'll go. Yeah. But yeah. And I do believe that it was in a coming soon status.
I think that's right.
And it was sort of before it was sort of like in a, where I didn't really show it because you weren't there. Agent previewed it.
That's right. Because you went to a broker open house of sorts.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
There wasn't many people there, but it was because during COVID, those were not very common. But yeah, I was there like with the agent for the first time. Jim or something. And we kind of had like a unique bit of access to it at the time, which really almost never happens now, that kind of like advanced kind of thing. I remember even still though, I think there was another offer on it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Yeah. It's like nobody has seen this house, and there's competition. It's crazy.
We had to top a few, and
I think you had us write a letter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Big believer in that. Yeah. Because it was a family leaving, I think, too.
Yeah.
And,
they had lived there 30 years, had raised 3 boys all the way through. We've come to learn they were just anchors of the neighborhood, like a quasi-mayor of the neighborhood. Yeah. And so everyone always references the prior family.
You live in their house. Yeah. So I think it's going to be like, we'd have to live there for 40 years before it becomes our house.
Establish your own
reputation to uphold.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. Yeah. Those letters, I always kind of think of it as like, you're just showing like a high level of intent, right? Yeah. Some of it, maybe you're appealing to like their emotions, but just a high level of intent of like, hey, this is why I value this so much, because, I have all these moving parts and, so most likely if you accept my offer, this thing's going to close.
Right. Giving them some sense of, trust and faith that, you're not going to back out. You're not going to change your mind. You're not going to, put the screws on them during inspection if there is one, that type of thing.
Yeah. It's like 10% like this, like the ooey gooey, like stuff of a letter, and like 90% like the, hey, they mean business. Yeah.
Well, we've found out too, in our neighborhood, it's a lot of people will tear down the house. Mm-hmm. And there's even a little local band, and they're called the Tear Downs. And
like a musical band?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Our little neighborhood band.
Nice.
And
that's funny.
So we got that question a lot. Like when people would first see us, are you tearing it down?
Interesting.
And we said, no, we love it. And you could see them just
the relief.
Okay.
I'm curious, did you communicate that to the sellers?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was more they could tell just by what we were writing. Like, we love your house for these reasons, and we love these details, and we can tell like the time and effort that you've put into it, and we cherish that, and we love older houses. So I think they could kind of sense that we weren't in it to turn it into a modern farmhouse.
Yeah. I'm sure that went at least, maybe I don't know how far away it went, but with the sellers that gave them some help making their decision.
For sure. I think most people it would, a house they lived in that long, that would,
They added on and up to it. And
because it's not, like a little petite house that was probably originally there, right. But it's got really great character. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there are rooms that are in certain hallways that I remember being like, well, this wouldn't have been here, or like certain room sizes upstairs where it was like, this obviously wouldn't.
But the old house is still there.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And from the street in particular, I would say.
They've done two really sensitive expansions on it. But the father of the woman of the house had built a birdhouse of what it used to look like. So we have this little birdhouse of the 1942 Cape Cod that it was. And now it's
that's awesome.
A little bit larger. It's certainly not a Edina monstrosity.
Yeah. There's a lot of those big, because Edina, there's sort of that, like, you can build kind of as big as you want, and Edina
there's really no thing as overbuilding.
Edina,
even on a smaller lot.
So we have some huge. Some big stuff over there, especially the new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So one house you saw.
We bid on, and we live in that one house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Highly unusual scenario, if anybody's watching. Yeah, highly unusual.
But it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done, but it's not common.
Yeah.
That's great, though.
I think the preparation that helped us do that was some familiarity with the Twin Cities. And, you can build that through some research and through lots of conversations with experts like yourselves. And then doing a little bit of the winnowing of neighborhoods down where we weren't casting, anywhere within a 30-mile drive of here.
Sure.
But rather saying, we'll wait until something good pops up here.
Yeah. I guess if it's going to be an area. So I'm just kind of curious. Like, so if it had been across France Avenue, would you have not found it? Would you have not wanted it?
It wouldn't have come up on their search.
So the search was only Morningside. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because of school.
So was it the school district?
Primarily.
So maybe the answer is we probably wouldn't have been as interested, which is fine.
Because I'm sure things did come up in Linden Hills, in that time.
Yeah.
But is the actually one thing that we almost like these days, I've had a lot more of these conversations than when we first talked, and one of the most important things early on is getting rid of the noise and the signal. When people are like, 30 minutes from downtown, I'm like, well, that's most of the Twin Cities. So like maybe we should.
And 350 options is not good for anybody.
No, it's just it's too much. Yeah. And then you're like, well, what about this one? What about this one? It's like, but like, so let's get you to the neighborhood that you want to be in. But y'all were in a unique situation of really having that honed in. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a good. Let's talk a little bit about like what were the. I guess we talked a little bit, but let's talk a little more about like what were the main, other than maybe geography, schools, big thing. Was that part of the? I would assume so. Part of like why you whittled it down to that, the schools, because Edina is known for good schools.
Yep, I think too, schools, but also not just the academic reputation, which they have a really good academic reputation, but they still offer band, art, theater,
extracurriculars.
They still have like woodworking class and engineering classes and cooking and design, so more of a diverse catalog of classes, which are kind of getting cut in other places.
Yeah. Or like these new schools come up and they don't have a shop, like a new high school, they don't put a shop in there.
Yeah. And I feel like you kind of have to be able to offer students more of a well-rounded education, and you have to be able to reach all students.
Yeah.
Not every student is going to take calculus.
No.
And not every student is going to go
one.
to college.
I can attest first.
And that's kind of what I wanted, is for them to have those opportunities.
Yeah.
And then also we needed like a very strong special ed program, and
That is actually, we could probably do an entire podcast on that.
Seriously.
Because we've had a lot of people reach out to us about
with specifically special education, questions.
Yeah.
And that it feels like the resources online for that must not be
tough,
where people are, answering the questions that people have.
Yeah. And I think that's too, it's such a large encompassing, one person's needs do not match another person's needs.
Yeah.
So ours, is a very light need, but still there.
Yeah. Have you, do you mind if we drill into that a little bit?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
How have you found, so this is specifically Edina Public Schools, that school district. Specifically, how have you found the special needs program, or I don't know, probably not even the program. Yeah. How have you found that overall?
I'd start with, I think from a student acceptance point of view, there's a great program called Edina United. Unified, thank you. And Edina Unified is a set of athletic programs, art programs, student extracurricular programs where students who have some kind of special need spectrum, but also, fully standard students. I'll rephrase that. What word should I use for that?
Well, there's the special ed student has a buddy, a peer buddy, and usually it's on a one-on-one, and they are in a class together. So it's either like a PE class or a theater class or a sport, they also have like different sports. And so they'll put on a play or they do PE together. And it's a phenomenal program.
Yeah.
So during the day, it's an actual class that each...
It's like one class?
Yep.
Okay. It's not like this
take.
ongoing thing throughout the day.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So, our daughter was in unified PE. So she went to PE and, they did volleyball, and she had her buddy, and so there's 40 kids in class doing volleyball.
Yeah.
But it's mainstream students with their special ed buddy.
Yeah.
And I don't actually know who's getting the most out of it because
no doubt.
the mainstream kids love it.
Yeah.
But then in the halls, suddenly everyone's including everyone because they're recognizing each other and they're like, oh, hey, it's my buddy,
Have a
hey, come over here. This is my buddy and we play volleyball together or we walk the track together. And there's just this whole, they're all becoming one in the school.
Cool. Yeah. So Edina Unified is what that's called? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And they're doing it in the middle school and it's awesome.
Yeah. Real award winning. Feels really inclusive from faculty and administration on down to students, candidly in a way different than I remember when I was in a mainstream high school. We've also since found, and I think it would be a really interesting standalone episode, great resources at Groves Academy, which is a special education specific school on the west side of St. Louis Park. And then we've enrolled our student after 2 years at Edina High School at a school called Franklin Academy, which is in Golden Valley. And it's one of, I believe there's only 6 in the world, autism-specific schools.
Okay,
interesting.
And that's their population, and they have been fantastic. It's a real integrated program for education, athletics, job training, counseling.
What ages or what grades?
I believe they go from kindergarten through
past high school.
Past high school.
Yeah, because I know there's kind of they'll do kind of the, I don't know what it would be. It's like after high school. I forget what the program's called, but I've heard it referenced. That age group. Specifically. So it does the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't leave Edina for anything Edina had done or not done.
Correct.
It was actually more like, wow, we are so close to this really cool resource.
Yeah.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
Our daughter really liked Edina. Her teachers loved her. She had great supports. They were all really sad when she was leaving.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like, this is basically in our backyard and amazing is it to be this close to something like this? Like, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. So, and that's Franklin.
Yeah.
You're saying, okay. Is Franklin private, charter, magnet?
It's a private school. It's relatively small. I don't know their enrollment statistics, but I'd guess maybe 300 students, if that.
Okay. Cool.
And
love to hear
really
that.
Great resource.
Yeah.
And they serve, obviously, students on a variety. They've sent students off to MIT, and then they've sent students into work share programs, and they know how to track and make sure that students have a great experience no matter what their path becomes.
Very cool. Yeah. Any other resources you could possibly recommend? Again, it could probably be a different podcast, and maybe it should be. Maybe I'll bug you about that.
This is the seed for the special education.
But any other resources that you can think of, even online or?
Well, I mean, we have Fraser, which is a phenomenal resource, and Edina now has Fraser psychologists in all of their schools.
Okay.
And they serve a lot of neurodivergent students, birth through, I think, adulthood.
Yeah.
Within the school district, they're tied to it, or is it just Fraser?
Fraser's its own entity.
Okay.
But Edina has seen the benefit of having Fraser specifically ingrained within the schools for psychological support.
Yeah.
It is FRASER.
Okay.
And then,
so is that like one professional in the school that assists where they're needed? Okay.
Yep. That's right. And then we benefited from the Autism Society of Minnesota, which is AUSM, or awesome. And they run a number of programs in town.
Okay. Very cool.
But I think we found that to be very helpful. I would say that was a big upside compared to the schools that we had found in Texas. Just a whole level.
Yeah.
In terms of how well included the curriculum is built, kind of how welcome I think we felt the degree of what we were able to access in terms of different programs. Just felt like a different universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Less fighting for it here.
Yeah.
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 Here it's almost, how can we make sure we maximize your help? And previously it was a little bit of, that feels like a budget request in the school.
Okay.
Right? I don't feel that at all here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The early childhood resources here are phenomenal. And I was an educator. And you will be hard pressed to find that in other states. I am now watching our nephew, who's just a little baby, and I take ECFE, early childhood classes, with him, and they're available to everybody. And it's kind of a sliding scale depending on your school district or where you are. Like in White Bear, I believe it was, or Matamita, was free for babies. But like, to have that resource available where you can just like bring a baby and get parent education at any of the school districts in Minnesota is like, we take that for granted.
Yeah.
We just assume, everybody must have this.
Yeah.
Like, no, that doesn't exist in most places.
Yeah.
Where you can just have birth through age 5 education like that available in every school district.
Yeah, this goes like, there's a thing that I talk about a lot where because I grew up here, I don't always know that I'm comparing Minnesota to Minnesota.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, by the way. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I knew that the standard in Minnesota is high compared to the rest of the country, but that is, Yeah,
Steve's mom's taught special ed for a little bit, right?
Yeah. In first grade for most of her career, but
Yeah. And yet,
special needs.
And yet we still are like,
I never grew up anywhere else. You know what I mean? So you really, or lived anywhere for a significant amount of time.
Yeah. You don't know that these things that we have are, like snowplows, like as simple as that, where you're like, of course we have those, and of course it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And this is kind of those kind of things, but yeah, that's super cool. And again, it's making me want to make a whole other thing about it. So we'll get around to that another time.
That sounds good.
We're still so much in like why you chose Morningside and Edina and all that. And like, I think it's like just such a good conversation.
Yeah. I mean, continue to go on. So we've kind of the education, clearly a huge part.
Yep.
Was that, how big of a factor was that in making the decision to move from Texas to Minnesota? We've talked about like the family, pull, but.
Or was it like you didn't know that you would, like you didn't know that it would be so much better? Or did you?
I think when we moved to Texas, our oldest was 5, had just turned 5.
Okay.
So she hadn't been to kindergarten yet. But it was when we first got to Texas that I tried to get her into the early childhood program. And that was like banging my head against a wall. And I was like, that was hard.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, okay. And so Texas education is fine, but it's different.
Yeah.
And so then when we came back, it was kind of a little like, it was eye-opening how different it was, I think.
Yeah.
Because now we had middle schoolers.
Yeah.
So it was very different. And so I guess it probably wasn't our sole reason for coming back. Family was probably the biggest reason, but it was definitely a perk.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's fair. Any other things that you can think of that were specific to, not moving here from Texas, but more so that drew you to, whether it's Greater Edina or even more into Morningside? Because I think the village thing, that's how I think of Morningside. I think that's probably a big one. And you mentioned those few other places that are pretty commonly on people's short lists.
Matt Groveland is like the number one that people from watching the video.
I think a lot of that has to do with it's a potential affordability, right? Like you can end up there for 400. You could also spend $1 million or $3 million if you were on the river, and so that's why I think that's such a big one. St. Anthony Park, it has been one of only a couple spots where when people have little tiny maps, the only other time I can recall it was just St. Anthony Park. They said it's that or nothing. And it was like, okay, you might be waiting a while. They did.
Yeah.
they waited longer than y'all for sure. But any other things that you can think of that made those, I can sort of predict that education is the outlier of Morningside. And then proximity to the city would maybe be, because Excelsior, Wayzata, great education, of course, known for that, but then far away from the city. So was it kind of that like Venn diagram?
I'd say those were probably number 1, number 2.
Yeah.
And I like that it was its own thing, its own city, up until 1966. A little bit of the Texan independence in me. But that's carried forward. There's great neighborhood organizations. There's the Morningside Athletic Club, which is a group of generally out of shape dads who get together for hockey and football.
Right on.
But then they also have the world's best Google Sheet, which is handy people, plumbers, and references for like every job that ever got done in the neighborhood. And it's fantastic. I twin that with my other favorite thing about Morningside is we do not have a next door for Morningside. So there is no...
there's no Facebook page or next door
there's
page.
no bad mouthing.
That's a breath of fresh air.
We just talk to each other.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Christy's been really active in things like Morningside Women's Club.
Yeah.
And crafting knitting club. And we're very active in the church that's at the core of the neighborhood. And they have a theater company there called Morningside Theater Company, which puts on Broadway quality shows in the basement of a church theater, pulls kids from 13 school districts, has a Broadway costume designer who comes in to do the costumes. Wow. And it's in the basement of a church 8 doors down from our house.
Wow.
And now it serves over 200 kids per summer.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I've seen you post about those things.
Yes.
And it does look pretty wild.
It's amazing.
How much of all this stuff did you know about the community before you moved there?
It's like an onion. Like when we first moved there, we're like, oh, it's going to be this cool, like walkable kind of, little city like place we're moving to. And like, we just keep learning more about it and just falling more in love with it. Yeah. Like we didn't know about all of these little clubs and fun activities in the community, like women's club and the theater and all of those. There's Morningside After Dark. That happens in the winter. And it's kind of also in the church
after
basement.
4:30 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like a
variety show. It's people bring whatever talent they have.
Oh, fun.
And
Really?
it's artists. So it's poetry, it's musicians, it's authors come and read a chapter from their book. And it's just so cool. It happens in the winter, so it's something to do when it's cold out.
Yeah.
And you just show up, and it's just like this cool art thing to do for like 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is truly village-esque.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And I suppose the design of the neighborhood itself was built around a streetcar. And so everything is short walk to this one central point in the neighborhood, which was the streetcar stop a long time ago. But because of that, nobody has giant chunks of land. So you interact with your neighbors because you can't kind of enclave yourself off. You are...
A lot of us share driveways.
Yeah,
We
sure.
share a driveway.
Yeah.
And we thought it would be weird at first, but it's actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah. Which, yeah, again, the other people who I've helped move to St. Anthony Park also share a driveway. And yeah, more of that, like akin there. Interesting. Okay. I guess we can just kind of move. Like the process was so long ago that we don't have to bug you about. Like
Also, one house, that's pretty unique.
I mean, that's
it's
truly
how relatable that's going
Yeah.
to be to anybody who is listening to this, trying to
Or
hear
helpful.
more about it.
Yeah.
That you've never seen until you arrive in town.
Yeah.
It's totally normal.
Yeah. That's a very unusual, but yeah, luckily, you had seen, there's not that many things here. And so if there's one that can do the trick, you could
Actually,
move on
quick question on that. Well, as long as we're still on this, what was the most stressful part of the process?
I guess the unknown of a home we had not seen in a neighborhood that we had driven through, but years prior. That was a little bit stressful. And then there was the added layer of doing all the closing work remotely, and mostly by Zoom. We sent my younger brother, who was living here as tribute, to go be like a power of attorney at the closing, which I didn't realize takes 3 times as long, because first you sign some piece of paper, and then you sign the same paper again as the attorney, and then you finally sign the paper.
And
so
you
if you think
sign,
a closing takes long, closing with the power of
Jeez.
attorney takes 3 times as long.
And he had to sign,
For both?
as attorney, and he had to write as attorney, in fact, for, at the time. Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Just took forever.
Yeah. He had to write a sentence every signature. It wasn't y'all doing it. That makes sense. So just that, the fact that it was.
Yeah. And moving in COVID with kids and pets and it was just a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our youngest was just, she's very active in the theater, so she's already a dramatic person to begin with. But at the time it was, I don't want to move. You're ruining my life. I will never leave my room. Like, I don't like you. This is awful. And then I signed her up for this theater company, and she's like, I don't want to go. Like, don't make me go. And I said, you're going. I already paid for it. It's down the street. You like theater. How lucky are we that this is on our street? And now she practically lives in that theater. Like, it's the happiest thing that ever happened to her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, she loves it. She loves Minnesota. She loves being here. She loves it. But that was stressful.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Sure.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah.
I've made a ton of friends in the neighborhood, and they can walk or bike. It feels a little 1950s-esque America, where you can jump on your bike and
She can go to the
leave
pool.
it unlocked. And
They go sledding. There's multiple sledding hills.
Yeah.
Multiple skating rinks to choose from.
Yeah.
great trick-or-treatable neighborhood. I know that's one of the hooks from
We love that term, yeah.
channel. Grimes Avenue is the main north-south route through Morningside. They close it down for Halloween, and they tell the families there, buy $400 worth of candy because you'll go through it.
They get a
That's very
food
cool.
truck. There's live music. There's bonfires set up. Like,
they do it right.
Fun.
Yeah.
It's a great neighborhood for that.
There's
That's cool.
End of school party on a different street where they close down the street, order mass pizzas. An ice cream truck shows up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
School buses drop off, kids sprint down to the party. It's pretty fun.
That's cool. Yeah, love that. I mean, yeah, that's all very cool to hear. And yeah, I presume there's at least one person who has now zeroed in completely on Morningside after watching this. Almost for sure. Okay, so now, you live here again. Is there anything... And maybe even before when you moved away, is there anything that you dislike the most about Minnesota?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about things you love.
Mm-hmm.
We prepared for this question.
I know, now it's like fell out of
Don't
my
be
head.
bashful.
What do I dislike? I mean, there's definitely things I dislike.
I'll go first.
You go first.
All right.
Yeah.
I find sometimes the pace here can be a little bit slow. I'm a bit of a business person. And the number of times I've had to jump on a Zoom call late because I'm like, it just took me 12 minutes to pay for my meal because I attempted to flag down the person to pay or person checking out in front of me just chatted with this other person for too long. So maybe it's the other side of Minnesota nice is it eats up a ton of time. That's few and far between, and I'd much rather people be nice. And
as a lifelong Minnesotan, though, yeah, there are certain when you're in a little bit of a hurry and there's a conversation kind of stopping in front of you, it can be very like, this is
just want to pay for my stuff and leave.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I am not a Minnesota good buyer.
Yeah.
Despite having grown up here, like I'm an Irish good buyer. Like I want to just disappear. Like I don't want to go through the whole like to the door, to the hallway, down the stairs, out to the street, roll down the window, down the driveway, like go.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so it's like
I'm with you, by the way. Yeah, I don't like that, but it is a thing.
Yeah,
it definitely is a thing.
I also don't like people in giant trucks who don't need giant trucks who also drive like maniacs because they have a giant truck.
Yeah.
It's like, just because it's snowing and you have a giant truck doesn't mean that you can go fast. But that's just me.
That's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Certain parts of town, you're from Blaine.
Mm-hmm.
Ivor, yeah.
I think of Blaine as maybe big truck capital of Minnesota.
If I had a nickel for all the times I've heard Paul and Jesse complain about Blaine driving.
We used to have a cabin that we were working on in Mora.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it was like 60, and so he always went through Blaine on Highway 65.
Yeah.
And there would be a crazy driver and we'd go, we in Blaine? Or, I don't know why. It was, and it pretty consistently, we'd be like, yep, it's Blaine, or just outside of Blaine, but
Yeah.
fascinating. A fascinating cultural element.
It's an interesting place.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there, we already kind of said that. I guess at the end of it, are you very glad you're here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has been great to be back. I commute down to Texas for my job. So does my CEO. He comes in from Silicon Valley in California. And one night we went out to dinner and he said, Lauren, it's like, you're from Austin originally, right? You've been making all these trips down here. Have you thought about coming back? It sure would be more efficient without having to jump on a plane all the time. And dutifully, I'm like, well, yes, sir, I've thought about it. And like, if it was really important, I could probably, go back and make that case back at home. He stopped me and he's like, hey man, isn't life expectancy just vastly better up in Minnesota compared to here? Aren't educational outcomes vastly better? Isn't like the quality of life score vastly better? And he's like, I'm just going to deduct 2 IQ points from everything you recommend to me in the future because you even considered leaving Minneapolis. So
that's funny.
I think we found it to have all of that.
Yeah.
One other pro that I didn't mention earlier, I had missed some of the art and cultural resources that are here. You tend to undervalue those when you go away, but having the Guthrie Theater and the Minnesota Orchestra and the Minneapolis Institute of Art and all of the great museums and resources has been fantastic. You get some of that. Obviously, there's great versions of that in New York and Chicago and other places around the country, but Minneapolis punches above its weight in that.
Proper like strongholds of those things.
Yeah.
Right. They're not just small elements, they're like, world class, a lot of them, you know? Yeah. Orchestra does come to, as you said that, I'm like, yeah.
They're well funded and they're stable and they seem to have both good corporate and community support. And
Totally.
It's good asset for the community.
And I think Minnesota gets dragged for its winters, but I used to call Texas summer reverse winter.
Yes.
Because it's 115 degrees out. You can't be outside between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when are your kids off school? In the summer? Like,
I've been talking about this quite a bit.
Everybody that we talk, I don't know if it was on mic or off mic, but we've been helping so many people from Texas. That is, it always gets brought up.
Yeah, and like Arizona, and I'm like, when people are worried about the winter, I often think about like I had summer break from school in like the best months of the year. Like it was incredible, and I can't imagine it being in Texas summer.
No, and when it was the nicest there, the sun wasn't out as long.
Yeah.
Like,
we
couldn't
something,
go camping.
Yeah. The cycle kind of, it at least maybe it's because it's what I'm used to, but the fact that like it gets cold and dark at the same time, it like creates this sort of like expansion and kind of retraction like lifestyle where you go, okay, it's winter and this is how we do winter. And then when summer's out, it's like you exhaust as much of that time, as you can. Because, it's sunny till 9 p.m. on the best days,
I just call winter's the cozy season.
Yeah.
You light the candles, you put the music on, it's what you make it.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah. It's got its own vibe. Some people really love it.
Yeah. So I guess this was something that I thought we would talk about more, but I'm really glad we talked about so much of what we did. Do you have any favorite spots that you would recommend? I guess as adults, and then we'll also ask specific to, if somebody came here with kids, what would be a good thing to visit? Or if specifically, maybe I'll rephrase this. If you're trying to make somebody fall in love with the Twin Cities who wasn't from here, what are some places you would recommend?
Well, what do we like?
Yeah, let's say they're people like you.
Or where do we bring people? We bring them to like Lake Harriet. And Chain of Lakes.
Yeah. That would be number one, probably.
100%. Yeah. Another huge benefit of living in Morningside, the proximity.
Because I think one thing that surprised me when we lived on the East Coast was that the water's not accessible to people. You either have to have like a beach pass to go to like the coast, or like any lake has like a fence around it.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can just like publicly go to like all of these lakes and just enjoy them is like so cool.
Yeah.
Another thing that we totally took for granted, I feel like, growing up.
I say it a lot in videos now, but I'm super grateful to whoever decided back in the day that those would be public. And I mean, there's like in Minneapolis, Diamond Lake has some private waterfront. Cedar Lake has some, but it's almost everything is public. It's crazy.
We lived in Connecticut for a while, and there was none of that. Like everybody owned their little slice of the lake and ran down to the water line. So that's been a nice upgrade. I will offer visitors coming to Minneapolis on business who ask me to meet for coffee. I'll say, I will meet you for coffee, but I'd rather meet at the Minneapolis Institute of Art, and let's walk around for an hour.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
And when they take me up on it, it's so much better.
That's cool.
It's a beautiful space. It's pretty quiet. We'll talk a little business and go see some priceless treasures, all for donations.
What a great idea.
Yeah. That is a great idea.
Any family suggestions?
I mean, we've hosted exchange students.
Yes.
I love the thought of the Mall of America, and it has a place.
I love the Mall of America, not just the thought. I'm a big fan.
But I think like I like to bring people. I mean, our neighborhood has some really cool like unique small businesses. 50th in France.
Yeah.
Super walkable.
It's crazy.
Really cool stores. Linden Hills. Awesome little shops.
Galleria and Southdale Mall have some unique
yeah.
places that are pretty close to where we live, which is nice as well.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Where you are has pretty unparalleled access to like the mom and pop, uniqueness, sort of city, villagey vibe, and then also proper suburban, amenities in like off France and, north of 494. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. I've taken up running since coming here, and it's a very easy neighborhood to move around in. The trails around Lake Harriet and Budaymacaska are fantastic. And, I always feel pretty safe doing that, and well lit and easy to navigate. They're even relatively well maintained in the winter, which is great.
Yeah, sure. And so many other people usually.
Yeah.
I think that helps the general feeling of safety.
Right.
It's like, well, there's a ton of other people.
Yeah. And good resources, like you'll run past water fountains to refill the water bottle. Like small things like that just make it a lot easier than tearing off in the middle of nowhere.
If you need it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's a thought experiment that we like to do, which I think I'm very interested to know your thought on this part. Okay, you have two choices, obviously hypothetical. So you can take your current home and move it to your dream location, or you can take
in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, or you could take your dream home and put it on your current lot. Which one would you do?
I think I know what they're going to say.
Yeah, I would be unquestionably, we'd stick with our current lot. And honestly, I don't think I'd change all that much about the home either.
I know. I would just
That's what I was thinking.
And dream home.
Yeah. Can I just like put a pond like on our lot?
Yeah, because there's really no
With our house?
There's really no water elements in Morningside, right?
No, we have Weber Park, which has like a pond and
But no,
there's a little.
But no houses. Well, maybe 4 houses on it. Maybe.
Yeah.
There's handful.
and we have Browndale that has a little pond. We call it the duck pond.
Okay. The duck pond. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Because you wouldn't be able to be like on Lake Harriet in Morningside, and you would lose the things that you love about Morningside.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the first of neither.
Yeah.
Or like reroute.
We were one house. Like now we're done. I can't think any further
Reroute
than
the
that.
creek through our backyard. That's it.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good third. Yeah, or would you move heaven and earth? Okay, and what is there? Well, this is basically the same question. Okay, how about if you had to move somewhere else? So house and location.
Yeah. So
What would
where
be
where's number two? Morningside's the
Twin
clear
Cities.
number one.
Okay.
Where is the number 2 place in the Twin Cities for you?
In the Twin Cities.
Potentially live.
in the greater metro?
I mean, there's a lot of good places.
Of course. Yeah.
You could have different answers too.
I really did love our time in downtown White Bear Lake.
I was going to say that.
I think anybody who is a less frequent airport user, who might otherwise consider one of the in-city neighborhoods, or anybody who can do Zoom meetings, I think that's a strong area to consider. It has a small community feel.
Or if you work in St. Paul,
Yes.
because you can use transit to get to St. Paul.
It's very slick from there.
Yeah. Or 35 is easy.
Yeah. Also has some great heritage and just institutions, a good historic society and community feel up there.
We weren't bright. When we lived in White Bear Lake, he worked in Eden Prairie and I worked in Egan.
Oh my gosh.
Poor planning.
Yeah.
Eden Prairie to White Bear Lake. That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
I did on transit. You can take 64 to the 265 to something in Minneapolis, and then you get out to Eden Prairie. That was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But he did it.
I did. Yeah.
Man, yeah. I used to live in St. Paul and worked in Eden Prairie, and that was a drag at times. It was about as far as I could tolerate.
Yeah.
So We've had one other guest say that if they would live anywhere else, it would be downtown White Bear Lake.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's a cool place.
Yeah, and it's kind of special.
Got a very distinct vibe.
Yeah,
a lot of history.
Up North Sea feeling.
Yeah. That was gonna be my other pitch. Would be like Cogden Road in Duluth.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm with you on that. Yeah, I love it up there.
Oh.
There's one brick, kind of like Craftsman's Foursquare in particular that I'm obsessed with on Congdon Road. That one house. So before we go into, the final segment, I suppose, I am curious for you to, if you're comfortable talking about it, talk about you mentioned that Edina has a reputation.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you feel anyway as a resident of Edina,
what's your perspective on it?
Yeah.
I was actually surprised when I walked the halls of the school that it is far more diverse than I would have ever dreamed. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our children have been welcomed into palatial mansions and into very humble homes with equal aplomb. I've not felt in any way lesser than or greater than. It's underneath the reputation, I find it to be a community of really caring people. Mm-hmm. I think our little corner as well has people who've stayed there for 30 years or 40 years or generations. There's some hand-me-down houses in Morningside where I think people feel a good sense of place without maybe feeling the reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, reputation it's coming from outside. So it's, if you're in it, the reputation doesn't matter that much, right? But there is, on the outside, there is that. So yeah, it's interesting because that's always kind of been my thought I'm like, yeah, this reputation exists. I would live there. It wouldn't stop me from living there.
I think an interesting thing too is when our children have gone to other events, they have been told that they need to act with a certain level of decorum and respectfulness towards everybody.
Yeah.
And that, how that they...
Like actual class.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like high class, but just actual class.
Yeah.
And that is what the school expects from them. Mm-hmm. And they do. And they get a lot of compliments from the public when they're on a field trip and whatnot that, you were all very nice and respectful and we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so I think, they're told we expect this from you. Don't.
Yes.
Perpetuate a negative reputation.
Yeah.
I find, hardworking individuals who aren't, above doing very small good things for the community. In our church, go in and sweep spider webs with a guy named Bob. And, he was a public school teacher for a long time. It's not as if there's a separate group of individuals.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And I'll say Braemar Arena for hockey games for $7 is a great ticket. It's a fun place to watch good hockey, including all levels.
It's not super fancy.
No.
No, yeah, because it's old. A lot of these things have been there for so long that that some of that it's a long-standing reputation, right? That it's it's been around for a long time, and so it almost precedes itself, but it's not necessarily accurate. We found that there will be people who. A good example is I was helping somebody who was kind of targeting Shoreview, and they had somebody who they worked with who lived in I think it was in Arden Hills, just directly next door. And they were kind of like, oh, I wouldn't live in Shoreview or something. And to me, I was like, I literally couldn't tell you the difference. Right. Like I don't, qualitatively from the outside, there's fundamentally no difference.
No.
But because you live in one, you have this opinion of the other.
Right.
Yeah. We hear that about White Bear Lake too. Certain sections where they're like, oh, well that. And it depends on where you are, it depends on where you're coming from too, how you would actually feel about that when you're there. But yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. We do duck the reputation every once in a while. Minneapolis is maybe 12 houses this way, so sometimes we're from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
St. Louis Park is 6 houses that way, so sometimes we're from St. Louis Park.
That's fair.
There's one little tiny strip of Morningside, which is 55416 as a zip code, and we're in that little strip. Our backyard changes to an Edina zip code, but we get like discounts from contractors when we mention 55416 rather than Edina.
Interesting.
Probably shouldn't print that, but
okay, yeah, interesting. Let's do a quick. So for people who've lived here for a while, as quick as these places come to mind, sort of a quick react little section here. Do you have a favorite grocery store?
Aldi.
Is there an Aldi close to you?
Yeah. St. Louis Park.
Oh, okay.
Highway 7.
That's funny. I could not pinpoint that. I was like, wait, where did you go?
And Richfield.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite gas station?
I have a Tesla, so.
Oh, your garage. Okay.
What's yours?
What about to buy snacks?
Costco is favorite gas station.
Wow. Nick host.
Yeah, Nick would love. Yeah, Aldi and Costco. Nick, an agent on our team, would love those answers.
Shout out to Nick.
How about favorite convenience store? DoorDash. That's my new one. Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I've been to one. I have a $2 winning lottery ticket on our fridge.
I know, from like
I'm going to run out of
July.
the year. No, it's from March. I got to cash it in before it expires.
We're just not convenience store people. There's one at the end of our street.
That's fair. I would say few Costco people are probably convenience store people. Yeah, there's not much of an overlap there. That's fair. Favorite restaurant?
Oh, there's so many good ones.
That's tough. You can have both different ones.
I'm going to plug Convention Grill. That's in our
reopened,
neighborhood,
right?
and it just reopened.
Yeah.
Finally.
After quite some time.
It had never been opened like the whole time we lived there until recently, and everyone was just chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
I go Tavern on France.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay. Great. Coffee shop?
Breaks our heart. The original Caribou was built in Morningside and just closed down after many, many years. But that has changed. Still has some.
Yeah. I like Caffeine, which just opened, also in France. They were a food truck. But it's Vietnamese coffee.
Ooh.
Oh, cool.
Okay. I just said Laotian coffee.
Yeah.
At Kaluna.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. They put condensed milk in
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. Where's Caffeine? Off France?
It's on France and 45th.
Oh, that's funny. I'm over there all the
43rd.
time. I have not laid eyes on it yet.
Okay. It's near Old Southern Barbecue and the little Chinese restaurant.
I go to that co-op.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
by
right
Lynn's
there.
Hostel.
In that little strip mall right there.
It's where Jinx Tea was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. That's funny.
Nice.
Yeah. I just could not pinpoint it. Okay. Do you have a favorite park and or outdoor space?
We go on walks to Browndale Park. It's in St. Louis Park and has a little pond and sledding hill and the warming house. It's a great place.
Yeah, it's really cute.
It is a cutie. Little neighborhood park.
Yeah.
Okay.
Body of water.
I love that we've learned the story that the day Makaska means the white shore.
Yeah, white sands.
Mm-hmm. And Lake Harriet had a native name that was just the other one.
Oh, that's
Cool. I didn't know that. Yeah.
that's very funny.
In case that's wrong, let me reprint that one. That may all be very
I think
sensitive.
it's correct, though.
All right.
Yeah.
I have loved the chain of lakes both as a cyclist and as a runner. It's a fantastic
Doesn't get any
resource.
better.
Really does not get better.
Yeah.
Lake Superior.
Oh,
Touche.
that's a good point. Good counter.
Yeah.
Chain of lakes is 4 lakes, though. Yeah, that's, I don't know. Can you count that as one? I know they're all connected, but
yeah,
they're kind of connected.
Plus Brownie Lake, the one everybody forgets. So
yeah. Fair. State fair food?
I'm a Mouthtrap cheese curds. I'm gonna get the big one. Which,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That got Paul's of approval.
How about winter activity? You mentioned cozying.
When we moved
indoor
here,
or outdoor?
so we're terrible at like most winter activities. We don't ski or do anything. So when we moved here, we're like, we need a winter activity. So we joined a curling league.
Oh.
Because it was like right after the Olympics. And we're like, hey, we're shaped like those people. Like we could do that. And so we joined a curling league. And
cool.
so, yeah, we know how to curl now. I mean, we're not great, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Plus, two great things about curling. When you lose, the other team, the winning team, cleans the ice. And then the winning team buys the losing team's drinks afterwards.
Oh,
so
wow.
you have
Low
incentive to
Tremendous.
win.
Yeah.
Chicago Black Sox style. Yeah.
We almost made money that season.
That's cool.
But you watch the Olympic opening ceremonies, right? And these athletes come out in their Ralph Lauren matching jackets. And, it's like fit, attractive 22-year-old speed skater, right?
Yeah.
Fit, attractive 23-year-old ski jumper, like 4 dudes with mullets from Duluth, and that's USA Curling, right? And that's how they met.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. Where is there like a curling club nearby, or is it?
Not in Edina proper. We went to Dakota Curling, which is in Lakeville. Downtown Lakeville as well. Nice little neighborhood. And they have an old Piggly Wiggly grocery store that had all the HVAC lines necessary to turn it into a
Giant freezer.
giant curling club.
That's crazy.
But there's one in Chaska and St. Paul and Blaine. And
U.S. Olympic team trains in Chaska. At the
No
kidding.
ice center there.
Yeah, I helped a gal buy a house and then sell a house who was like in the tryouts for that at Cheska.
Nice.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, St. Paul has St. Paul Curling Club in Frogtown, and it's actually a fun spectator sport.
Yeah,
You wouldn't think so, but
yeah. Do you have a favorite like entertainment venue, whether it's theater or?
we have been season ticket holders at the Guthrie Theater, and they do fantastic work, both original work and then some touring work, which is great.
Morningside Theater Company.
That's right.
Of course. Okay, and then how about, do you have a least favorite highway?
494. It will never be done.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
There's also, if I ever get the phone number of a traffic engineer, there's this part where you're on 394 heading east, and you need to get around the cathedral, and it.
Yeah.
I have to take that every day.
24 hours a day, it's backed up.
Yeah.
So.
I have to take it from where there's always the one lane that's always backed up.
Yep.
But I enter on the other side of that, and I'm trying to get through that lane of people who are stopped to get here to downtown.
Yeah.
And the only way I can do it is by just being like really rude and just going to where it ends. And then just being like, sorry, and then I get into that lane, and then I also have to jump all the way over. Yeah. It's a wild section.
That zone. Yeah.
But there's always someone not paying attention. So you're like,
Yep.
Yeah.
there I go.
Yeah. It's one of the most like head on a swivel like moments while driving. It's just when you're in one of those two fast moving lanes.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, people are going to be crazy right here. That's a good. I
That's a
now
good
change
one.
it to section of highway.
Yeah. Very specific.
That specific intersection.
Like
It's really
quarter
rings
mile
true.
of chaos.
Yeah.
One nice thing about loading it at Morningside, though, is it's right at the first express lane ramp into Minneapolis. And unless you hit it at peak hours, it's 25 cents. And you avoid that whole interchange.
Yeah. See, and I don't have that. I don't have the expressway part. So it's like or I have to go very out of my way to do that.
All the way around.
Yeah. But when I get it, boy, it's a treat. When you can do the HOV lane, it's a delight. Okay, I think we're good for that section. We're going to move into the last section.
Love it.
Called How Minnesotan Are You?
Yes.
All right.
Which I think you're familiar with. I think you're going to be pretty high up on the list, although you said you're not good at skiing and other winter activities. So I'm just kidding. You've been to the state fair?
Yes.
Okay. Every year.
Every
You
year?
were-
Oh, wow.
Today only you can buy tickets for the lowest price they will be this year.
Really?
$14 flash sale.
Why today?
Black Friday.
Well, not
Did you
really.
load up?
I was pushing it through right before we came here. My credit card didn't go through, and so I got to do it. I got to do it when we leave. Probably do it from the lobby.
Do you go multiple times in a season?
Let's see, we went twice this past year.
Okay.
There's a lot to see, and
Yeah. Like we'll go during the day with our girls, and then usually we go back at night, like, because it's a different vibe.
I'm
Definitely.
a night fair goer. Yeah, I prefer it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fair. Okay. Have you ever been to the state fair for anything other than the state fair?
Christy is a ribbon-winning scrapbooker at the state fair, so you had to at least drop off your prize or your entry.
Yep. That's eerie.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
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 I've only been once.
I'm like, why am I driving on these roads? This is illegal, isn't it?
Especially when it's like empty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I've been for like the Back to the 50s car show, but that's like a whole event. It's full.
Right,
But yeah, going there when it's like empty is very strange.
Yeah.
Sadly, they have signs that you're not allowed to teach new drivers at the state fair because that would be a great place to learn. But they have signs up all over the place. So we've been using Lakewood Cemetery because, if you run off the road, everybody's dead anyway.
It's all good. Yeah. Very chill.
Just going to hit a turkey.
Yeah. Okay. Have you had hot dish?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay. Do you have a favorite hot dish?
I mean, I grew up disliking hot dish like every small child.
I have a hard time telling them apart from each other.
That's fair.
They're just all an amalgamation of
That's fair.
tater tots, some sort of meat
agree.
product.
I accidentally called it a casserole the other night, and I
Did someone revoke your?
oh yeah. What? My sister literally was like a hot dish. I was like, oh yeah.
Do you know what a Minnesota standoff is?
Yeah. When no one will go at a four-way stop.
That's that pace, that kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so no.
You
hurry.
go.
Good
No, you
example
go.
of that, yeah. This is easy. I didn't know the answer before I ask it. Have you ever walked on a lake?
Yes.
Okay.
Our exchange student was also one of those crazy people who jumps in the frozen lake. They cut a hole in the ice and they go like,
At the magic hole.
Did you cut your own hole?
I did not do this at all. We just sent a 16-year-old from a different country to go do it on her own.
She's like, I've heard people do this. I'm
Finish?
like,
Oh no.
no, she's German, but
Okay.
she had heard people
Yeah.
go to the magic hole on Lake Harriet. And I was like, oh, bring a robe and a towel. Have fun.
Yeah, that's very cool. Do you have a Caribou Perks card?
Yes.
Okay. It's a very Minnesotan thing to do. Have you ever been to a party, or actually, have you ever brought Top the Tater to anything?
We brought Top the Tater from Minnesota to our friend who lives in Florida
Yep.
Suitcase full with ice packs.
this summer.
His specific request.
They
Can't
don't.
get it.
Oh wow.
That's amazing. That's like bringing like French butter home or something
Right.
like that. But the Minnesotans.
You get an import-export business going on that stuff.
know.
Yeah. Okay. You ever jumped somebody's car outside of a Target?
I've done it at the airport.
Okay. That's pretty good, actually.
What season was it? Was it winter?
Yes.
Always.
Yeah.
All right. So Minnesota nice. You got 3 options. Pick the one that is closest to reality, like the actual definition. Is it passive aggressive? Is it genuinely kind and caring? Or is it an attempt to avoid confrontation at all cost?
I'm definitely in Camp C. I think it's an attempt
Okay.
to.
It feels passive aggressive, but
I mean, it's a combination of all 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
They're all right. They're all correct. Yeah.
D.
There's one that, I agree with passive aggressive.
Let's see. Have you ever hit a deer with your car?
no.
No.
Okay. Good. You ever use the outdoors as a refrigerator?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You ever explode a soda outside or
Yes.
or a beverage of any sort?
Because of using it outside of the freezer. Yes.
Yes.
No.
You ever have a beverage explode in your vehicle?
No.
No.
Okay, that's a
Keep
doozy.
LaCroix.
Yeah.
I've seen it, but it
Keep
wasn't
the LaCroix
mine.
in my trunk.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Small pitch for relocators. Electric cars in Minnesota are fantastic because you can warm it up inside your garage without running the exhaust. And you can keep it at like 55 degrees while you run into a store without leaving your car running.
And like pet mode is something I just learned about. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You can keep your garage door closed.
Yeah. And you don't have to like open it and like. Okay, you ever sat in a giant Adirondack chair?
Yes, this weekend.
Really?
Minnesota Morris.
Yeah. Wow. Wonderful.
Have they answered yes to all these?
Most. Yeah.
I didn't hit a deer.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. That's good.
You ever witnessed a fight at a hockey game between parents?
Yes.
No, I have at a baseball game, little league game.
Okay.
It's pretty good actually.
Hockey's more Minnesotan.
That's
but
true.
Yeah, have you ever had a salad with marshmallows in it?
Yes, you betcha.
Let's see.
Have you ever had lutefisk?
No.
No.
You know what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
I've avoided it. I've been offered it. And,
Politely
declined it.
Yes.
I don't enjoy fish in its regular form, so I feel like
Yeah.
gelatinous
The grossest
fish
kind
is
of fish would probably not be.
Do you watch high school hockey on TV?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Regularly?
You ever
No.
done that in a garage?
No. I've been in a garage for a high school graduation party.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
That stuff, yeah. That rings true to me. I don't know. I bet that happens in other places in the country, but
True. Have you been to Sven and Ole's?
No.
No.
Okay. Have you been to Betty's Pies?
Yes.
Okay. Have you eaten a popover?
Yes.
Do you like a popover?
Yes.
That's not really one of the questions. Okay.
There's great ones at Creekside Supper Club.
Oh, yes. Creekside is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Creekside. I've played trivia there somewhat recently.
Oh, they have trivia.
Yeah.
Love trivia.
Yeah. It's a good time. Okay. Do you have any animosity towards the Dallas Stars?
Little. Yeah.
That's
It hurts a little.
Yeah, that's enough.
all right. How many of these items do you own? Any clothing purchased at Fleet Farm or Menards?
Both.
Wow.
Same.
You might get the title here. Flannel button up. I think you're wearing one.
From
Yes.
I have a stack of 4 high Filson shirts. Yes.
Okay. Canoe paddle. Could be usable or decorative.
Yeah.
Kayak paddle.
We have kayak paddle.
Okay. That counts.
close. Yeah.
I should tell my Menards story.
Please.
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay. So COVID hits
Yep.
March and you can't buy all of our pools have shut down in Texas. So you cannot buy an inflatable pool anywhere. And I think to myself, where in the north can I buy a pool that's inflatable that won't be sold out yet?
Because, nobody's thinking about it.
Menards, baby.
That's
Like,
awesome.
5 days
Shipped
later,
it to Texas?
I've got a inflatable pool and an 11% discount.
Oh, wow.
the rebate? That's, okay. Have you ever actually redeemed an 11%
Of
rebate?
course.
Okay. I'd forget.
That's very Minnesotan, man.
Yeah. The 11% rebate. Okay.
Or the shopping bag.
Yes.
Fill the shopping bag.
Yeah, 11% off, whatever you can fit in there.
Do you measure distance in time?
Yes.
Okay. You ever said up the road a piece? Or heard anybody say it?
Just now.
Just up the road a piece?
Up the road a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fair. I feel like bit is Canadian.
Okay.
Piece is too, I guess, but okay. Do you have a favorite place up north? Xperia?
I mean, does Duluth? I feel like Duluth isn't up north.
I think it's the start of up north.
Really?
Yeah. It's like the
Brainerd's not
the
up north?
I feel
gateway
like
to the
Brainerd's up north.
Brainerd's up north.
Isn't that further south than Duluth?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, further south. Yeah, but almost equal distance. Equal
That's
time.
true.
Yeah.
Fair.
Distance time.
Distance and time.
2 of my high school friends lived in Park Rapids, and one of them lived on Potato Lake, a lake shaped like a fish hook, and the other one lived on Fishhook Lake, which is perfectly round.
That's very funny.
Poor map making in the 1800s.
You ever have like a? I don't even know how this works. You ever order Schwann's?
Oh.
We were not that wealthy.
Yeah, we did.
When I was young.
I looked at Schwann's like.
I looked at a
high
job
life.
there one time, and they have a private fleet of aircraft that just bang between Marshall and Minneapolis. Really? And if you're like an executive, you just get on the plane to come here for your meetings, and then you go back.
Wow. I think they're done. I
They
think
still, yeah.
I think they just got.
this. I haven't
Okay.
seen those.
Yeah, Coborn's maybe.
Okay.
Maybe overtook them.
Do you know what a Midwest martini is?
No.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a light, or go ahead, you know?
I don't.
Okay, it's a light beer with olives in it.
Ugh.
It's awful.
Correct.
It's two bad choices combined in one.
Oh.
What's the coldest wind chill you can recall experiencing?
-60. They closed school.
Yeah, that's closing school
insane.
wind chill. Yeah.
I don't think I've gotten that cold.
Yeah.
It was middle school.
Okay.
So that's before you were here.
Yeah, that's gnarly. Okay. Couple more. Do you know where to park at the Mall of America?
Yes.
Like for the thing that you want?
Yeah,
Do you have a
like
place?
Oh, yeah.
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 Like I know which side to be on and which level to be on.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is where I park.
Yeah.
You have like a place.
Like a
Yeah.
spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the closer in parking ramps at the Minneapolis airport are the green and gold ramps, which are Green Bay Packer colors, but they happen to be the closer ramps to the terminal.
That's
That's my pro tip.
And don't sleep on the cell phone lot when you're waiting for like,
Picking somebody up.
yeah.
Oh, you mean don't just
Aunt
like wait
Francine to
until
come
like,
in?
the cop says,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what everybody else seems to do.
Because you can watch all the planes land
Yeah.
and then just buzz on over.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what a biff is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Portable toilet. Yes.
Yeah. That's
That's too much information.
yeah, but it's a weird one. Do you ever say holy buckets?
I've heard it. I don't say it, but I know what it means.
I do. Have you ever driven a Zamboni?
Oh, life dream. No, but you have a story.
They were recruiting for Zamboni drivers down at Braemar Arena in Edina.
Was it just
And
a
they
line
were-
You have to
out
have
the door?
experience.
No, they
Experience
said they'd
required.
train.
It was like
Oh,
1751 an hour will train, and man, I was really close to
Yeah,
putting
what
in
are the
an application.
hours like? I wonder.
Pretty flexible. It seemed like they needed them all
I mean,
the
they
time.
just needed them, so.
Yeah, it's like 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, how long are the time in between periods in a hockey game?
Okay.
Do you know Prince's full name?
Prince Rogers
Roger
Nelson.
Yeah. Well done.
You got the.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Are you familiar with this sound? You for sure are.
It's a loon.
There we go.
Pretty good.
Okay, nailed it. And then, are you familiar with this man?
Yes, because everyone has it.
Do you have it?
We don't.
Did you ever have it?
You know anyone who had it?
The
Yeah.
friend we brought Top
Top
Potato
Potato?
to in
Oh,
Orlando
wow.
has one, but it's like 3 times bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's Minnesota's official portrait.
it is.
Yeah. This was at my sister's house just the other day.
Really?
Yeah, I said,
Does,
hey.
does she know
No,
it's not
you-
in her house anymore?
This
No, that one did you buy that?
Yeah, I bought it
Someone
from
give to you?
from like an antique store, and said I'm going to bring that for the podcast. But yeah, my sister has a different one that's probably double the size at her house.
I've actually thought about getting one.
It's a pretty cool picture. Like if it wasn't this like Minnesota iconic thing, it still is cool.
I know.
Yeah.
But our kitchen currently has an armadillo boxing a groundhog because that's a
That's
Texas
also
thing.
pretty cool.
It might be a little out.
We have
of-
Armadillo Day in Texas.
That's fair. Okay. Any others?
No, that's you 9.5.
Yeah.
You betchas out of 10.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Probably the most Minnesotan. Yeah.
I mean,
Good
And
grief.
we had somebody from
Malcolm had it. Yeah.
Yeah, Malcolm was pretty high. And we had somebody from Grand Rapids, Minnesota? Whatever. So we had somebody from up north, which is a pretty
Strong advantage in that.
yeah, big time.
Probably had more of an accent too.
Perhaps.
A little bit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Can people detect your accent when you go other places?
When we first moved to Texas, they could.
And then it kind of fades
Yeah.
out a little bit.
Yeah.
Now I don't know.
I was born in Milwaukee, so I might have a little bit more neutral. But
Yeah.
when we first moved to Texas, our then 5-year-old had done some of these early childhood programs here and gone to a Montessori program here. And then we were going to move her to Texas, where she got assigned a kindergarten teacher from the Bronx. And I'm like, this kid's accent's going to be all messed up.
Yeah. Just like, where is this kid from? Yeah.
And then they had been watching Charlie Brown cartoons, and they went through like this little period where they kept saying "good grief" about everything. So I was like, what is happening in our house?
That's awesome.
Good grief.
I want to start saying that. That's a good one. Okay. Appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.
Privilege. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. Thanks for having us in.
Any final parting wisdom for anybody who is trying to make the move here, or is already planning on it and they're like in the middle of it?
I don't know. I think all of the different studies and surveys that come out, they're not wrong. It's a cool place to live.
Yeah.
There's a lot to offer. There's fun things to do, and winter is a mindset.
Yeah. Well said.
True.
Right on.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Cool.
Real privilege. All right.
All right.